folks, we're back at it. We've got both Dwight YOAKAM and a documentary going on here, courtesy of Renee Mooberry, who is Dwight YOAKAM's worldwide #1 fan. And Renee is a Louisiana girl. If you're new to the channel, if you've been around, you'd know this. She's from Louisiana. She's living in Vegas the last 10 years or so. But I wear the LSU hat in her honor, even though I'm a Rutgers guy. And in any case, this is Dwight YOAKAM inside the making of PEARS documentary. I don't know what we're in for here. So Renee, thank you. This is going to be in 2 parts. Part 1 is today. Part 2 will be tomorrow. So Renee, thank you for this. And I love these educations. And I have a playlist that I just started about a week ago for documentaries. And I went back and retroactively put other documentaries and some things that are like biographical or autobiographical in there as well. They're educational. So let's get into this one, shall we? Here we go.
I knew I wanted to do something rediscovering the joy of reckless abandon that you had at 17 years old, where any of us that picked up a guitar and played just because of the sheer excitement of doing it, you were fearless, you know. But love has to be approached in a fearless manner, right?
Yeah.
Well, we're in it now. We're in it now, boys.
Yeah.
If I had a waterfall, we wouldn't wonder not at all how much fun each day was gonna be.
Yeah, he lives in LA.
If I had a mountaintop, I know we would never stop climbing way high up to look and see. If I had a jellyfish, bet you we would never miss a single peanut butter kiss or squeeze. If I had a waterfall, it might not make no sense at all. That won't matter much to you and me. Babies get born even in a war. I guess just to show us what living is for. And my heart still believes that love for what we need can be enough. If we'll just stop keeping score. If I had a big giraffe, tried to dance and made us laugh, every smile.
Yeah. Baby's still born in war, just to show what life is for.
He was a game changer at a time when the country format needed it, but the only way he could get through there, get a path to there, was through Los Angeles, because he needed to be a bit of a rebel.
Power and the force that he has coming from honky-tonks up through modern day. There's a lot of points where country and rock and roll intersect, you know. He's just himself. He's not really anything else.
An amazing, iconic artist, just a classic.
And that voice is just insanely unique. You live to have an artist on your label who, if he's...
How often did I say this, Renee? And you know it. I used to say he's just so unique. That was the word I'd use. Now, everybody's unique in their own right, but obviously I'm using it to an extreme degree. And they're saying it here. And this dude is like, how fortunate are they to have had him on their label? I don't know who's doing all the talking. It doesn't even matter.
He's a guitarist like Mark Knopfler, can play one note, you know who he is. Dwight YOAKAM can sing one note, and you know who the heck it is.
Yeah.
I've been trying for so long, and this trying just goes on.
There really isn't anybody else like him, because He's kind of like a rock and roll redneck. He really isn't really a country guy, and he's not really a rock guy.
He's always come from a place of originality, drawing on references that weren't always country.
They have a bunch of odd names for it. Neo, alt, classic.
It doesn't sound like the Jayhawks or any of the other fantastic artists that have done it.
Sort of rockabilly, Bakersfield.
He calls himself a little bit of cowpunk, especially this record more.
As an artist, he's really doing something different and staying true to just exactly how he feels his next record should be.
No, he's just a classic, so, you know, it doesn't really matter what else is going on. He's just, you know, his own thing.
Who's he driving there?
When I began this record, I said some of this is that youthful exuberance, hopefully, a certain reckless abandon. They said, it sounds like a 17-year-old wrote that. I said, wow, if I'm lucky, maybe I can go back to what that was, that moment.
Take hold of my hand, and I'll do what I can to make everything right.
I used to say that I was born in Kentucky, raised in Ohio, but I grew up in California because this is really where I became an adult. I moved here, I was 20 years old, came out west and, you know, made my way on my own. In the first couple of years,
in his friend's closet.
I was doing what I used to call hard country, and then what I broke with. But I was playing in the valley in the clubs, the hillbilly nightclubs around the San Fernando Valley. I got fired a lot because I wouldn't do the contemporary covers of the day. And I did some of the first demos that I ever did at United Western Studios. After I get off work driving air freight, there was an engineer there named Gordon Shoutout, who was a staff engineer. He was from Tulsa, Oklahoma, and he had spec time in the evenings. And Gordon decided I was someone worth spending his spec time at the studio on. It took a few years, but I finally got the chance to make my music my way on my own terms.
I feel what is distinctive about Dwight, if I was to just come up with one word and one aspect of it, is his historical knowledge of music, of all kinds of style.
Just sitting there having the conversation is the best part of hanging out with Dwight because he's just such a charismatic guy and he always has a story.
It's not even an encyclopedic knowledge because he has a whole different insight because of his ability to understand it artistically and understand the creative process and understand from all the different angles.
Chris Hillman of the Byrds. Chris Hillman had been a bluegrass musician, and he then brought Graham Parsons into the Byrds. Joe Mathis, after traveling to Bakersfield in 1958, to see this young act that he'd heard so much about, and that was Buck Owens' band.
He really has a really deep knowledge of the historical styles and bands and music that allows him to create things that are fresh, things that sound familiar yet are not exactly a rehash of something else.
Fascinating. You know, I'll throw this in there. I was listening to something a couple of years ago on the some of the greatest piano solos of all time. And there were something like 22 on there. It was like a 36-hour seminar. I didn't make it through the whole thing, but one of the things that was said is that in order to be a great pianist or a great musician of classical music, but especially a pianist, if you're going to solo, you have to understand the history of the song. And I just found that to be fascinating, that you have to understand the time in which it was set, the storyline, even though there are frequently no lyrics, but you have to understand it to get the feels, because people know what it's supposed to communicate to them who are aficionados. And that's not exactly what he was saying about Dwight, but it's relevant to Dwight's music.
Nothing but love will ever heal your torn up heart. Nothing but love can fix the worn out, broken, lost, empty heart. No, 'cause nothing but love is strong enough to break you, forget what you won't believe.
Tom Petty-esque.
If nothing but love was all there was, then nothing but love was there for you and me. Nothing but love, just love with me.
The mixer has
Tell us
his
about
work
listening
cut out
to
for him.
tracks on the Corvette.
The role of the Corvette on this record is where the music's played very loud.
And it's very loud.
Ear-splittingly loud.
It's pretty intense. First time I met him, he said, "Let me take you to Corvette and let me play some of my demos."
At a deafening volume.
It was so loud I couldn't hear myself think.
2 in the morning, 5 in the morning.
I'm honored I've been in the Corvette.
You know, fun to listen to a song with him sitting right there next to you, so.
It's a very interesting experience. I think later we're all going to have a listening party in the Corvette. We're going to all pile in and just crank it up.
Yeah, it was really loud, but it was fun because of his playing. When you heard that stuff, it was just stuff that I love.
He was still able to sing the harmonies over the track.
Thick smoke and loud music is the only kind of life you'll ever understand. Oh, dim lights, thick smoke and loud music.
He was louder than the sound system still, so I have to give him credit for that.
During that 9 months, I was playing the rough tracks, the mixes and everything in the car, because that's the final resting place for the voting. That's the precinct that cast the deciding ballot.
It was definitely our way to finalize things.
Most musicians that I know have one spot where they listen to music all the time.
That's kind of his mark of like, all right, if it sounds good in there, then then it's working. It sounds good.
All right. I'm going to leave it there at that part. That's a good spot because we may pick up on a little bit more of his Corvette, but that is funny about how they all said how loud he played it. I don't listen to myself loud. I did when I was younger, really loud, but I don't consider it loud, but it's funny the way they depict it. And Corvettes are not big. They're 2-seaters. So if you've got this whole booming sound system, it's going to be loud, but yeah, the mixing engineer would have had has his hands work cut out for him with Dwight because there's so much going on in the tracks and setting the volumes and the tempos and when to bring this in and how and all that. That's just going to be every bit of his paycheck is worth it. So Renee, thank you for this. This will go in the documentary playlist, as you know. So it's a tip of the hat, and I look forward to part 2 tomorrow with Dwight. The mystery keeps getting better and better and better about Dwight. All right, guys, have a great day. See you on another video, and keep rocking the country.
If I had a jellyfish, bet you we would never miss a single peanut butter kiss or squeeze.